Hello, everyone. Lori Jewett here. Welcome to my How Do You Spirit podcast. And my special guest today is Shandell. Hello, Shandell.
Hi.
I'm so happy to have you today. It took us a minute to make this happen, but we're finally making it happen. Yes. Shandell, tell me or tell everybody a little bit about what you do, what you're involved with. She's involved with lots.
I do a lot. So I'm an energy healing guide. That's kind of where I started. And right now I'm doing some cacao experiences. I'm taking on people on 20-day journeys. And then I'm also a psychedelic integration specialist.
Nice.
Wow. So I work with a lot of people who energetically on the other side of those experiences, help them process.
Okay. Wow. Awesome. Yeah. I didn't know some of that. I love it.
Yeah. So I have a lot of healing modalities that I use, that I've used the last 11 years. And today, because we're talking about the angels.
So my husband and I went to a sound bath session that Shandell did. And that was my first time. And my husband's kind of like, what is this? But we both really, really enjoyed it. So thank you. And I'll definitely be back one day.
Yeah, we do. We try to have it once a month where we do either cacao and sound bath or yoga nidra.
So to start off, how did your whole journey start? Your spiritual journey?
Well, I will say I've always known I was spiritual. I've always had like a spiritual connection and desire to connect. But then life kind of gets in the way.
Right, distractions.
You just start living life. But about 11 years ago, I had cervical cancer.
Oh.
And so it kind of put everything, like it just stopped dead. Everything just stopped. And I just thought, how in the world was this living in me? And I had no idea. And it didn't something felt weird. I'm like, it's not cancer, it's something else. It's something else. And so the more I dove into it, the more I started to really listen to my body. So as soon as everything was over, sat down and started meditating.
Okay.
This is your next modality. This is your next modality. And so it was really on a journey to figure out. As soon as I started finding out all of these things about myself, I was like, oh, everybody has to know about this.
Right. So you want to share the story. Yeah.
And the understanding of, if you, like for me, with it being in the cervix, it had a lot to do with like shame and guilt. And I'm like, those are things I was taught in church about sex.
Oh.
And so
Makes
I'm
sense.
like, I've been carrying that and thinking that, I'm this not necessarily bad person, but like it's an energy that you carry.
Yeah.
And I
like
just
you did something wrong.
Yeah. And so I thought, no, that's not it. So to have the understanding that the emotions are carried in the body, and if people can address their emotions, have to have surgery or things like that. So that's really what I wanted to start sharing with people.
Yes, because everything physically that not everything, but a lot of our physical body stuff is from, like you said, the emotional part of it, that where we have issues with what past, like you said, past issues beliefs or trauma or beliefs, thoughts, everything. It's so incredible to me how our bodies are so, well, they are connected to our minds, right? But really that our thoughts, I guess is the right word, how our thoughts can really cause us havoc on our bodies and our health. Yeah. So it's so important.
Absolutely. And it really is kind of like, it's our mind overriding what's happening in our bodies. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because in the last year, I've really dove into somatic work, which is funny because I'm like, well, I've been an energy healer for 11 years and I'm just barely getting into the body. I'm like, but I've been working with the body for so long. What do you mean? But I didn't realize how often I was bypassing my actual physical body and the messages it was giving me because I was immediately going to the energetic. And so it's been a whole new journey this last year of finding both the energetic and the messages that our body is saying.
It's probably something I should start looking into because I'm very energy too. And the same way with my body. And I probably should start working on that other aspect of that too. So that's interesting because,
Yeah, this last year just been mind blowing
mm-hmm.
within myself and like being with the emotions that come up
Yeah.
and not, okay, how am I going to heal this? Like, what do I have to do to move this? I got to shift it.
It's incredible. So you say energy healer. Are you a certified Reiki?
Yeah, I'm a Reiki master.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
It's kind of funny. I have this like weird relationship because I know it's so powerful and it's so important. And right now, I feel like everybody does Reiki, right? And
Okay,
so it
yeah.
kind of has like a feel like a little bit of washed downness to me.
Uh-huh.
So anytime someone comes in for a session, I will put Reiki online because what
Okay.
I learned within my Reiki practice is people would come and they would feel amazing and then they would leave, and then 2 days later I'm getting a phone call being like, I need to come back, I need to come back. That felt so good, now I feel like crap.
Uh-huh.
And I thought to myself, I'm like, well, I'm not a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor. That
Right.
I want to give people the tools where they can learn how to take care of these things themselves. And so then I went into energy kinesiology
Okay.
to learn the emotions in the body. So I could, this is hurting you. This is the emotion. Let's go into the emotion because the mind does want to process and
Of course.
right. And
yeah.
so when someone's just laying on the table and you're giving Reiki, didn't actually get to
The root.
the causes and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
repetitive things that continue to happen. So, yes, I am a Reiki master.
So what is a session with you like? Let's dive into that. I'm so curious. I'm like, sign me
Wait a
up.
second, right? Yeah. So every session, there will not be one session that looks the same.
Of course, because everybody's different. We're all
yeah.
different. We have different things.
Well, and I mean, even with anytime you come see me.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have like a method. I go based off intuition.
Great.
So when somebody comes in, we'll have a chat. If they know what they want to work through, we can talk about that. And based off of what feels right is what we will do next. Sometimes it is just energy work. And sometimes it's emotional processing. Sometimes it's working with the angel. And sometimes it's somatic. So
it just depends,
it just
right?
depends on where you are and
your
what
guidance,
you need.
right? Yeah.
And I do
Sure.
really pay. So I on my website, it says like, I'm good at what I do because, and it's not just listening to the words that you're saying, but I'm listening for body, spirit team, listening to my spirit team and how it all comes together for what your need. I can't go in with an agenda. Because then that's about me.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
Yeah. And there'll be times where like I will get like intuitive hits before they even get there. And I'm like, oh, I think we might be doing this. I'm like, okay. And then we get in, we start talking.
Oh, you get
That's why we're going to do that.
Yes,
or we're going to do that.
sense.
And we're going to do this. So it varies every time.
That's same with me when I do readings. I always try to tune into people before they come. And I get those, as you say, intuitive hits too. Like I get messages before somebody even gets here. Yeah. And then when they get here, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Because I'll see weird stuff, get weird messages. And I'm thinking, what are you trying to say? But then when you get the person in front of you, it all comes together. It makes sense. Yeah. That sounds amazing. So I really wanted to get into your angel work because I also love my angels. I was just telling Shandell that I call my angel the six pack. And I didn't know, we were talking about different levels of angels, and I didn't know that. So I love doing this because I always learn so much. So anyway, I am, and I talk to my angels probably more than my guides or anything. So let's dive into that. Tell us about that. I'm excited.
I feel like I'm very much the same where I've always worked with my angels or guides. And when I was young and little, right, it was kind of like, okay, I know somebody's there. I just need you to, right? Like I didn't really have a context. And for me, growing up in religion, it never felt right to me. I was just like, I don't know what this is, but it's not right.
Okay.
And so, but I had a very strong calling to spirituality. And, but then, some things happened and I felt like I had a disconnect from God or whatever that would be to me. And I was just like, yeah, I don't believe that. Right.
Yes.
And then I got introduced to the angels. A friend of mine gave me a card deck, my very first card deck,
Uh-huh.
and it was an angel tarot deck. And so then I played with him and I was like, oh, what is this? And then I found Kyle Gray. I don't know who he is.
No, I
Okay.
haven't heard
Kyle
of him.
Gray, he is an angel, I want to say,
Yes.
from the UK. And he said something on there that in his teachings that said the angels are the breath of God.
Uh-huh.
And so they are no different. And for me, that just pinged my heart. And I was like, this makes sense to me with the spirits and with the angels and getting to know them individually and each and all of the ascended masters and the archangels and a lot in my practices. I do a lot of readings and things like that. And then they come in my energy sessions. And sometimes in my sessions, I'll know exactly who it is. I mean, they don't have names, right? We give them names,
right,
to help
My
our brains
six-pack,
process,
right?
to help us process. And so, for people always want to know, like, well, who is it? And I'm like, because I don't have all the answers, and so I'm happy to just say, they want to work with you. You give them permission, and then you actually start.
So let's talk about what we were talking about a bit ago about the different kinds of angels that we have.
Okay. So everyone is born with a guardian angel.
Okay.
That is with you from the moment you're born to the moment you die.
And is this kind of like the main spirit guide that we have? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But just angel. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And they are with you. Some people believe every lifetime.
Okay.
I don't know that.
Oh, wow.
Right? I don't know if it is the same one every lifetime. You will have different angels that come in and out of your life as you need them.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we always say, just like we do, angels have free will. And so they can choose to help or not to help. And also, it's so important to give them permission to help us.
Yes.
To open that door.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because they can only do so much.
Yeah.
Right? And there are so many times when I have sessions with people and they're on the table and then it's just like all of these angels walk in and they're like, we're just waiting for permission. And I'm like, oh, and so I tell them, and then it's like the whole energy just kind of shifts of full support. And so it makes a huge difference to be able to give that permission. Within these reports, there are angels that I have never heard of.
Wow.
So a lot of us are really familiar with the archangels.
Yes.
Right?
Very common. Yeah.
Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, and some of the ascended masters. Yep. And so they're all very common. And so I had no idea what I was going to find when they told me this. So I went on the hunt and searching, and it's based off of the time of your birth, where the moon was at the time of your birth.
So is there some astrology that kind of plays into that a tiny bit?
Because there are angels that are associated to your sun, moon, and rising.
Interesting.
And so, it's so cool. I love it so much.
So exciting.
And so when I started finding these specific angels, some of them are like Michael and Gabriel, Raphael, and some of them I had never even heard of before. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really neat. And then to go and find out these qualities of these angels. And the more I started doing these reports for people, I was finding they were direct reflections of who these or what they're passionate about, or what they do, or how they present themselves. We have so much more support than we realize.
I agree. And in so many different ways. Again, that's why I'm here doing what I'm doing, because we all look at it differently. And there's just so much out there and so much to learn. I'm so intrigued by
And that's why I'm I'm
angel
so curious
report.
To see if you, because you say you have your 6. Right?
That's what I get. Yep, that's the message I get. That there's 6 of them there.
I have a couple clients who have a really full table.
Wow.
And then I have clients that have 6.
Okay.
And the only reason that it changes is because there are specific angels that are over multiple.
Interesting. Yeah. So we might share angels then. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
And
okay.
Angels are energy.
Yes.
So they can be anywhere, anytime, as many places as need to be.
Yep.
So I'll use an example for myself. So Michael is in 3 areas of my chart on my table.
Okay.
And I actually use him all the time, almost every day. And I'm always like, oh, we're best friends, you know?
He's my
And he's my best friend.
bestie.
He's so prominent in my life anyways.
So interesting. Wow. Yeah, when I talk to my angels, I'll say, "Hey, angels," and I just have this vision of them, just all 6 of them, just swooping in and being like, "What do you need?" You know, that's
Yeah.
what I envision when I do that. So it's so interesting. I would love to have an angel report someday. That would be so fun, and explore all of that. So do you feel like that you consult or ask for guidance from your angels the most? I'm asking difficult questions.
Well, so I would say yes. I mean,
Okay.
the simple answer is yes.
Uh-huh.
My angels are who I go to first and foremost
Uh-huh.
if I'm searching for answers outside of myself.
Okay.
So what I've in the last couple of years, I've really, because was only asking my angels and guides for support and doing these things, but my body was telling me different. So I was getting mixed messages, signals.
Yes.
And so they're there to support me on the path. They're not there to
Right.
give me the path.
Yeah.
And so it took me a minute to develop this different type of relationship with them, that I wasn't just leaning on them. That I wasn't. And so it became much more of they get to validate what I'm already feeling.
Okay.
And they
Okay.
get to reassure me that I got from Kyle Gray is, thank you, angels, for being with me every moment of every day. Thank you for reminding me of your presence and feeling that way. I'm always open to their support.
Awesome. I love that. So you feel like then maybe so connecting with your inner self, right? And then getting the validation from your angel support.
And they are the first ones I go to.
I know why you're sitting here now, because I'm in my head's going 100 miles an hour right now with things and ideas I have for myself about all that, and I'm getting a little emotional about that. But anyway, so I love this. I love it. I love it. I love it. Do you have anything that you want to add to our angel discussion? Like, is there any special experiences that you could share with us, maybe?
Well, I'm actually good. I'll share. I just had a client this morning, and when she got on the table, immediately I could see this figure, and I just like I'm having a hard time placing who he is. And so I was asking, like, are you her spirit guide? Are you, because he was showed up very warrior-esque. It was very warrior, and it was a different feeling, and he was very dark. And I was like, the darkness is kind of throwing me off. Like, what is this darkness? And I was just like, I'm so grateful that I have opened myself up to being able to connect with this type of energy, so that we are reminded that we aren't protected, and that we do have the support when we need it, right? Because again, they're there to validate us. They're there to remind us, to show us the way. After our session, I was explaining to her what I saw, and I'm like, he was wearing this headdress, but I say headdress, but it's not Native American, and I was trying to describe it, and she like showed me a picture of this king from Hawaii, and I was like,
wow.
oh my gosh, yes,
That's it. That's it.
and I'm like, that's so weird. I've never seen that before in my life. And then I said, but he was really dark.
Right.
I wasn't used to seeing it, so I thought it was like a shadow. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's your grandpa. But he wouldn't tell me that.
Right.
Right? He was just like, I'm here to protect her. That's what she
I'm
needs
here,
to know.
and
I'm here
that,
to protect her. That's what she needs to know. I mean, that was a cool one for this morning. My personal favorites, I have 2 personal favorite stories.
Yes, let's hear them.
And this was one of the like pivotal moments. This was before, like, I had my cancer. I couldn't have been too far ahead of that, but I'm driving down the freeway, and I have both of my kids in the car. My son was in a rear-facing car seat, so he was still maybe around 1, right?
Yeah.
Little. Yep. My daughter was 4, and we're driving down the freeway, and loud as day, I heard, "Need to get over." And I went, oh. And so I put my ticker on, and I got over, and I looked back, and a bus came screaming past me.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I get chills even now.
I
every time
have the
think about
chills
it.
right
Yeah.
now as well.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And so we pull over, everybody starts pulling over.
Right.
And I sat there and I just said, I heard you. I heard you.
Yes.
No, I heard you. And I
Uh-huh.
just kept saying that out loud because I'm like, I want more of this. Like, you
Right.
just did that for me. I heard you. I'm going to acknowledge this.
Yes.
And so that like started to shift. I was
Okay.
like, okay, now I know.
So I have to interrupt you for
Mhm.
just a moment. So your kids have grown up
Yeah.
around you and your angels and them being aware of it, I guess.
Mhm.
And I did that with my children while they were growing up as well. I'd sage the house and the spirit stuff, and I think it's a game changer
Well, it really was a game
for
changer.
children.
Yeah. Well, so when my son was little, he was very little.
Uh-huh.
He would have night terrors,
Oh,
really bad night
yeah.
terrors. And one night I went in and he had a loft bed.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had like a slide to come down. And my grandma had passed away not too before that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And she would always do this little rhyme thing and grab toes. And she did it to me when I was little.
Yeah.
All the grandkids, but she would do penny white, penny whizzle, toey tight.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, well, why don't you just come down the slide? And so at that moment, I realized that he could. This has to be so normal for him.
Right.
That this is a normal thing because I believe that I could when I was little,
Mm-hmm.
and I lost that feeling. And then when I was a teenager, I could feel it, but it
That's kind
freaked
of
me
same
out,
with me.
right?
Yes, it
I'm
scared
like,
me
what
to
is
death.
this? Like, run!
Yes,
Run!
yes, yes.
And so I'm like, I want to make this the most normal thing in the world for him.
Uh-huh.
And so I learned how to teach him to protect his own space,
Uh-huh.
that tell them that they are not welcome in his bedroom at night,
Yep.
that he gets to say when they come in and when they go out. And so he grew up learning how to communicate what he was experiencing.
That's same with I did that with my daughter too, because she was very, very sensitive, very, very young, and I would tell her the same thing. Tell them they're not welcome.
Yeah.
They can't talk to you when you don't want to talk. All those things. So I think that's so important with children, because so they don't feel like they're crazy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't want him to lose his gift either.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And my daughter is very intuitive, and she has the inner knowing, not necessarily the seeing.
Uh-huh.
Although she also saw it.
It's scary to them, right, at the time. Yeah.
Because they didn't know.
Mhm.
And then they both, picked which angels they wanted to work with. And so we
Uh-huh.
got them statues for their rooms. And so
Oh, I love it.
they've been very, it's been part of their world.
Yes, amazing.
And so back to my second favorite story,
Uh-huh.
which is perfect.
Because I interrupted
No,
you.
it
I had to
perfectly-
talk
yeah.
about that.
It perfectly leads back around because we were going on a trip, and we got on an airplane, and anytime we travel, I always, think Archangel Michael and Raphael, they're the traveling angels to watch over. And so my husband and I are sitting, or my former husband and I were sitting, they were across the way sitting.
Cute.
We're not religious. We don't go to church. We don't really pray.
Right.
And then the flight attendant gets on the microphone. He's like, "Hello, everybody. My name is Michael. I'm here to make sure you two get to your destination safely." And all three of us look at each other. We were like, "Oh, did that just happen?"
Right.
So for
Oh
them,
my
that was
gosh.
their validation.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
that they are
oh
being
my
here
gosh.
and watched over. And so it was like one of
That's
those magical
incredible.
moments.
I
Yeah.
love it. I'm getting
Yeah.
the chills
Yeah.
really, really, really bad. That is those are great stories. I love it. It's so nice when we do get that validation, because I think sometimes some of us might get discouraged. Is somebody really there? Are they really there? Are my guides really there? My angels are, is God there? Is, whatever that is, it's always so nice to get the validation and just, oh my gosh, they really do have my back. They're really there for me.
And in the angel reports, I have a couple of journal prompts.
Okay.
And one of them is, where do you feel this angel?
Oh.
So as you're connecting with this angel, whether it's one that you know or one that's new to you,
Uh-huh.
it's, where do you feel this angel? Because a lot
Okay.
of times we will think that they're outside of us,
Uh-huh.
but they can also live within us. And so there will be times where,
Uh-huh.
oh, I can feel it in my heart. Oh, I can feel it in my stomach. And
Mm-hmm.
it's for me, that's just not necessarily they're living there, right?
Right.
But that is my connection of, oh, I know that this is
The validation again. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. I love those stories. Thank you so much, Shandell. It's been so fun. I could sit here and be like, go on for another hour. I'm so
Yeah.
intrigued by all of it. I'd definitely be chatting with you more after. And thank you to all of you for joining us today. More episodes to come. And if you're looking for a platform for the podcast, just Google How Do You Spirit Podcast with Lori Jewett. And we're on several of the platforms, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, a whole bunch of them. So go check us out and go subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. And we just did our first live stream episode last week, and we're going to be doing more of those coming up too. So thank you again, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.